Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the state of the Elemental Shaman on the PTR for 10.2 and Season 3 of Dragonflight. Make sure you're paying attention to the date that I post this video because there are a ton of changes going on right now. Pretty much every week we're getting more changes, so if you're watching this too far in the future, it might be out of date by this point. So make sure you're paying attention to the patch notes if you're really interested in that. That's one thing that Blizzard has actually done a really good job of, in my opinion, so far in the PTR, is just pushing out constant updates. So kudos to them for that. So last week I did not come out with a video on my thoughts of the previous changes. We got a whole new 4-piece set bonus for ourselves, which was a much better design. I'll give them that. But everyone who was coming out with videos was very, very positive, very thumbs up about it. Even like people like Genji, who had made a tier list, like put us in A tier, which obviously isn't scientific and is more for just for fun. But just the general vibe around Ellie was very, very positive last week. And my thoughts were much more mixed. And I feel like amongst all that positivity, I would have come off as just like dooming or just impossible to please. And I just personally try to keep myself more grounded when it comes to these changes. We're not close to release yet. We still don't have a date yet. And I try to keep myself from getting too high or too low on these things, but it just felt like everyone was really positive and I just wanted people to have that. But now that we've had another week, not a huge change as you can see right here. We got a very minor change this week, which is a slight nerf to that new 4-piece. So now I guess I will give my thoughts because the previous week uncovered a whole bunch of bugs that were already there, but because of the way that the 4 set interacts now, they're much more prominent and they're affecting us in a positive way. So if you removed all the bugs that are affecting us right now, we're going to be in a very different space, not only with our damage, but how the class actually feels to play, and we'll get into that in just a second. So with that being said, let's go ahead and just kind of jump into it. So we'll just talk about the new 4-piece right here on PTR. We'll just go ahead and come over here. So it's not too confusing, so I don't have to read the same thing twice. But basically the new 4 set is, instead of only the lava burst after your primordial wave for that 10-second window, applying that burn damage, now just all of your lava bursts will now apply a 15% additional damage to all targets hit by lava burst over 4 seconds. And that over 4 seconds, if you do like back-to-back-to-back lava bursts, it just rolls that into a stacking dot, similar to Ignite for fire mages. So basically all of your lava bursts are just getting this extra damage. So very easy to understand there. And then the big change, before you were going back and forth between, for AoE, you were going back and forth between Chain Lightning and Lava Burst, Chain Lightning and Lava Burst. There was really no room for spinders in that, so you're essentially just pressing 2 buttons and just overcapping Maelstrom and just not caring. That's how it worked before, but now, the way it reads is your next 2 casts of Lava Burst will also hit up to 3 additional targets affected by your Flame Shock for 100% of normal damage. Now, what this changes in AoE is essentially, instead of pressing Chain Lightning and Lava Burst, now you're pressing Lava Burst and Earthquake. You're still pressing 2 buttons, it's just now you're actually using your Earthquake. So let's just start with AoE, since I've already started talking about it here. Basically the way it would look, and you would still take, we have a lot of different builds, so you have to keep that in mind. We're using a lot of different builds right now, but this is something similar to probably what we would be using right now, even after getting it optimized. This is probably something we would consider using in a Mythic Plus environment. So you would still use like Stormkeeper when you have it, but outside of like a Stormkeeper window, the way that you'd be playing around your 4 set is basically spreading your Flame Shocks like so, and then I'm just going to be pressing Lava Burst and Earthquake, Lava Burst and Earthquake, just back and forth, and that is my entire gameplay loop in AoE. And then I would use my Primordial Wave as soon as it comes back off cooldown, so that I can just keep that haste rolling. I can keep chucking out more lava bursts that would then reduce the cooldown of Primordial Wave, and we just keep doing that over and over and over again, and just hoping to get DRE procs and using Earthquake. That's pretty much our entire AoE profile. It will look something like this. Obviously, you'll have Chain Lightning as well for your Stormkeeper, but for the most part, this is kind of what an AoE profile would look like. Even if I was looking at an actual dungeon environment, something similar to this. Flame Shock wouldn't be that high, actually. Earthquake would be higher than that. They're just still ticking in the background, but something similar to that, very high on Lava Burst casts. So we've gone from Chain Lightning, Lava Burst, Chain Lightning, Lava Burst, Chain Lightning, Lava Burst, to just Lava Burst, Lava Burst, Lava Burst, Earthquake, Lava Burst, Earthquake, Lava Burst, Earthquake. And it's all feeding back into that loop of Primordial Wave because of the tier set, but then also because of Rolling Magma, reducing the cooldown of Primordial Wave for every single time that you cast a Lava Burst or have an overload from that Lava Burst. So the whole basic principle right now in every build, by the way, that we're running in Mythic Plus, pretty much every build that's being tested, it's still all revolving around Primordial Wave and Rolling Magma and casting as many lava bursts as possible so that we can reset the cooldown of Primordial Wave and then once again trigger our tier set again. So basically a 2-button spec in AoE still. We're just now using Earthquake instead of Chain Lightning. If that sounds interesting to you, then we're in a good place. I don't try not to form too many, biases here of my own. Obviously, I have my own opinions of it. I don't find this incredibly engaging, though. When you're chucking out a whole lot of lava bursts, you're getting DRE procs. You definitely get those dopamine hits when you see all the lava bursts go everywhere. So there is that. You're getting basically permanently hasted from your splintered elements in a Mythic Plus environment. So there are some good things to it. There are some dopamine hits from this, but again, at the end of the day, you're essentially pressing 2 buttons. So if we move into a single target situation here, it kind of plays exactly the same, except instead of pressing Earthquake, we're now pressing Earth Shock. Again, like I said before, I'm not going to talk too much about specific builds right now because there's a lot of builds up in the air that we can kind of mess around with and choose from. There's a lot of builds that are actually really close. One thing that did change last week was they did nerf Further Beyond. Further Beyond, you can now no longer get permanent ascendance. So you can only go up to a maximum of 100%, 150% of the original duration. So for instance, if you have a DRE proc, that's a normal duration of 6 seconds, you can now only extend that an additional 9 seconds up to 15 seconds total. Now there's some bugs with that as well, and we'll get into bugs as a whole section in a little bit because there's a whole bunch of them. But basically, even with this Further Beyond change, it sounds like Further Beyond would be dead. It's actually not dead yet. It's close. It doesn't quite play quite as well because you are being basically forced into hard casting Lava Burst a lot more than other builds are. But it is still alive and kicking. It could still crop up. Right now, the best single target build is actually going to be something similar to this one as well. You would change some things in here. But the one thing that I would really want to hammer home about this, I don't want to talk too much about builds because the big thing here about all the builds we're playing, doesn't matter if it's AoE, single target, all the builds we're playing essentially play the exact same way. It doesn't matter what talents we're taking. It doesn't matter. Well, that's pretty much it, right? It doesn't matter what talents we're taking. Everything plays the same. The priorities are the same because the tier set is just that powerful right now. So if we were to do this in single target, and again, it does not matter what my talents are. All the builds that are currently being tested that are doing well are about the same. So I won't even change. I won't even change specs here or builds here. Well, I will. Well, you know what? I changed my mind. We'll change it to this and to this, and go like that. We'll at least change it a little bit, just a little bit of a taste. I don't need Liquid Magma Totem, but that's beside the point. Basically, how every build plays in single target is using your Primordial Wave and trying to get out as many lava bursts as you possibly can, and then using your Earth Shock, and then that's it. Basically just 2 buttons again, Lava Burst and Earth Shock now. If you run out of those casts, then you can press Lightning Bolt, but for the most part, the only thing you're really looking to do is cast Lava Burst and Earth Shock. And outside of that, it feels bad to press anything else. Obviously in this specific build, because I have Stormkeeper, I could use Stormkeeper just to get out 1 additional Lightning Bolt, but there are other builds that aren't even using Stormkeeper for single target. And the main gameplay loop, again, just to hammer that home, the main gameplay loop is just pressing Lava Burst over and over and over again to reduce the cooldown of your Primordial Wave and to get as many DRE procs as you possibly can, get out as many Lava Bursts as you can, reduce the cooldown of Primordial Wave, and do the whole thing again. So it doesn't matter what build we're testing right now. Pretty much every single build is going to have a breakdown that looks similar to this one as well. So I'll just go ahead and we'll stop there and don't even have all my buffs up or anything like that. It's going to look something similar to this regardless of the build you're running. So again, essentially a 2-button spec. You might have a situation where you run out of buttons to press and you have to press Lightning Bolt. But for the most part, and again, I said that this isn't even like an optimized build or anything like this. The most optimized ones you really are just pressing Lava Burst and a Spender. Not many builds right now are pressing are pressing Elemental Blast. We're not really taking that right now, but there are some builds that would be, and one of the big problems is some bugs that are going on with it. Also, the fact that the 2-piece is casting an Elemental Blast. All the buffs that you could be getting from actually using Elemental Blast yourself kind of is negated because you pretty much always have those buffs up because of the free Elemental Blast that you're getting from the 2-piece. So Elemental Blast definitely has lost some value. But at the end of the day, in AoE, it's Lava Burst and Earthquake. And in single target, it is Lava Burst and Earth Shock. And that's it. So if you really enjoy that playstyle, if you like looking at your damage at the end of a boss fight and it looking like this might be for you. If you like pressing 2 buttons, this might be for you. Obviously, you are weaving in things, like I said, like Primordial Wave and your Stormkeeper if you're taking it. But for the most part, it's basically just those 2 buttons in a loop constantly. So it's definitely a thing. I don't know if that's necessarily gameplay that I really enjoy. But again, if you enjoy it, make sure you're getting that feedback on the forums as well. I think all feedback is important. There isn't just like a right think and a wrong think here. I personally like a little bit more complexity than that. But if you enjoy something super simplistic and pressing 1 button over and over again, that's totally fine. And I'm not trying to say that to belittle people who enjoy that playstyle. It's just, for me personally, that's just not what I enjoy. And that is my personal bias. So let's talk about some of the bugs right now. So one of the things I had mentioned is that we're extremely bugged at the moment. This post put up by Loose right here is currently updated. They did fix one bug so far, which is the 2-piece Elemental Blast was not triggering Surge of Power from Primordial Wave. It now does that, so that is now working. But then we have a ton of other bugs as well, and I'll have this linked in the description. I'd love it if people could go like this post so it gets more visibility, so they can hopefully start working on these things. Now, one of the things I talking about going back to last week, and people were getting super excited about it. One of the biggest issues right now, and this was also last week as well, is one of the bugs to the 4 set. And this might be a bug and it might not be a bug. It might be just poor wording on their part. And I'm not going to go through every single point here, but I will point out 2 things. So starting about the 4-piece bug, basically in layman's terms here, when it says here, your next 2 casts of Lava Burst to also hit up to 3 additional targets affected by your Flame Shock for 100% of normal damage after you use your Primordial Wave. This is also hitting in 1 target situation. So if you're just in a pure single target situation, every time that I cast Primordial Wave, the next 2 Lava Bursts after triggering it will also trigger a second time on that target. So that might not be wrong, but it might not be right either. So the word additional is really problematic here. So if we read it one more time, your next 2 casts of Lava Burst to also hit up to 3... Yes, sorry, I almost messed up there. Your next 2 casts of Lava Burst to also hit up to 3 additional targets affected by your Flame Shock. Additional targets. Your single target is not an additional target. It is the target. And you might say, well, that's just bad wording. But the wording should be, if it's supposed to trigger again on a single target, the wording should be your next 2 casts of Lava Burst to also hit up to 3 targets affected by your Flame Shock. That would be correct wording. If it was just 3 targets affected by your Flame Shock, then it absolutely should 100% work in single target. But the way it's worded makes it sound like it should only be working on additional targets. This is the difference of our 4 set essentially just saying your Lava Bursts are just burning for 15% additional damage, or getting the entire other half of the 4-piece on single target or not. That one word is causing a lot of confusion, because if we don't have that second half, if that second half is not supposed to be working in single target, what that means is we're losing those extra duplicated Lava Bursts that we're getting on single target that then feed into Rolling Magma. Oop, let's not do that. Those extra Lava Bursts that are feeding the Rolling Magma, reducing the cooldown, and the Overloads, reducing the cooldown, and then also all the extra damage that's coming from a non-button press. That's just extra damage that does not require any other global cooldown interaction at all. So we're getting more reduction, and we're getting more damage, all piled in to this one extra part of the tier set. If this is not considered, if this is not correct, if that is in fact a bug, our single target damage is going to be significantly impacted. The flow is going to be significantly impacted because we won't have all the generation of Maelstrom. We won't have the reduction of the rolling magma, like I said, and then all the extra damage. It's going to feel a lot different. And then we'll also do just a lot of damage less. It's somewhere, I believe from what I've heard, and I could be misquoting, but it's still around the 20% damage increase or decrease if you take that out. So it is going to be impactful, and from a playstyle perspective, that's just a lot of cooldown reduction and a nice big burst of Maelstrom, and that Maelstrom can then be turned into Earthshocks, and because we're using Windspeaker's Lava Resurgence, can be turned into more Lava Bursts. Just that one little line, that one additional word of the word additional, throws everything out the window if it's not supposed to be like this on single target. So we'll have to wait and see. This is definitely feeding into it. Another bug that's affecting us right now is on Splintered Elements. Basically what's happening, and I can just show this off pretty easily, and it's not as big of a deal in AoE. It doesn't seem to be adding up too much extra time, but in single target it still can. Well, actually in single target too, it's not that much additional time, but essentially what's happening here is when we trigger our Primordial Wave, we get the Splintered Elements. You can see it right there, ticking down here on my weak ore string, but then every lava burst that I cast after it reset it because it's hitting these 3 targets. It's thinking that that's also Primordial Wave, so it's resetting that time. It's also only hitting 3 targets. So if you had if you had 6 targets, which would be 44% haste, the next time you cast the lava burst, it would immediately cut it down to 32 because it's only hitting 3 targets now. So if you look at it again, it's at 40% right there because I hit 5 targets, and then the next one cuts it back down to 32. But it also is resetting the duration of Splintered Elements, so that's just one more bug there. It's probably not that big of a deal. In single target, you are able to kind of extend out Splintered Elements by like 3 or 4 seconds, depending, because you're in single target, all you're pressing is Lava Burst and Earthshock, so it's not that much extra extension, but it is extra extension. And then the other issue being, the other big issue here is if we look at further beyond, I said that it was still alive. That's also extremely bugged. I don't want to talk about it too much. Like I said, it's still hanging around. It might not be gone, but it's also bugged as hell as well. So there's a lot of issues, and if you want, like I said, I'll link this in the description down below if you want to look through it and read through it. There's a lot of issues going on with Ellie right now that are impacting the playstyle and impacting what we actually know about it. If they bake in the bugs, we'll be in a much better place in terms of just like damage and like competing with other specs. But if they fix all the bugs right now, we will be like currently, if you're lining us up against other specs, we will actually be we'll be in a very, very bad shape in terms of damage. And that being said, that doesn't really matter because they can tune us up later. But the feeling of the spec of getting all of that feedback, all of that extra reduction on Primordial Wave and single target because of the way that the 4-piece is working, yeah, that's going to affect the way that the spec feels. But the bigger issue here to me, more so than even the bugs, is just the playstyle itself. If you consider this a fun playstyle, then all power to you. But is this enough? I don't know. Is that enough for you guys? It might be, right? That might be fine. It might be fine to press 2 buttons in AoE and 2 buttons in single target. Something tells me that it's not enough for Blizzard. Something tells me that this will not be something they want moving forward, and they'll look to make it a little bit spicier in some regard. What they plan on doing, I have no idea. That's just speculation on my part. But something tells me they will not leave it like this. I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. What do you guys think? I would really like to get more opinions on this, because if this is something that you guys are okay with, make sure you let them know that too. Make sure you're loving this kind of playstyle if you do. But if you don't, then we have to let them know that as well. My voice, my opinion, is just one person's opinion. My voice does not matter any more than the next person who's watching this video. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm one person, my voice counts as one voice, you know? But I want to try to get more opinions because I want to know what people actually enjoy. Do you enjoy this kind of playstyle? Do you enjoy how it is in right now in Season 2? What do you guys want to see out of Ellie? Is this a good direction or not? But yeah, that's pretty much it for right now. I'm like I said, I'm really mixed at the moment. When it gets going, it can be fun just because of the light show. Ellie has always been a very fun class to watch from a visual point of view, but it's not always been, you know, this might not be the best gameplay. But maybe it is. We'll see. Well, I would love to hear from you guys. For me, this is not necessarily the direction that I would like to see it go in. I would like a little bit more, just a little bit more complexity than this, but I don't know exactly how I would want them to do it, because right now, all of the talents, the tier set, everything is encouraging you to press Lava Burst. And even if they brought something else up, like a Ice Fury would be the easiest answer to that. I know a lot of people hate Ice Fury, but Ice Fury would be the easiest answer. Even if they've managed to make that feel good to press or do enough damage that you'd want to press it, it's still not feeding into that feedback loop of the tier set. And right now it feels like the whole goal is to press Lava Burst so you can reduce the cooldown of your Primordial Wave, so you can press Primordial Wave and get more Lava Burst. That feels like the whole goal in all situations. Doesn't matter if that's AoE or single target. That seems to be the goal that the tier set is pushing in. And just because they were to push up something like Ice Fury or even like Stormkeeper or even Lightning Bolt, it won't feel good to press it because it's not interacting with that feedback loop. So don't really know where they're going to go from here. I'm very interested to see where they do go, but we still got plenty of time left. I think there's going to be plenty of more testing. Things will 100% change. I 100% guarantee you something will change that will require more discussion later on. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you're interested in PTR testing, I will be doing all of the raid testing. I think we're basically done at this point, but they'll probably add a couple more days. But if you're interested in that, I do stream at twitch.tv/Ridmark, so feel free to come check me out there. I have a Discord if you want to ask me any questions personally about the class, or YouTube, or streaming, or in general, really. But if you really want to keep your ear to the ground in terms of all the changes and where the theory crafters go to hang out and stuff like that, feel free to join the Earthshrine Discord, which is the Shaman Discord, and just hang out in the Elemental Shaman channel and just listen to the discussion going on there, or even partake in it if you're interested in that. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much all I've got for today, and I will see you in the next video.